Alina, this book is something else. She's saying, she's saying that the things that, that stand out to you, the things that you want to repeat and all of these things into your life. Listen, everything
stands out.
So I break it down into portions that I can manage.
This really was transformative.
Hi, good evening, and welcome to this evening's discussion. Achievers, where are you? Shout me out in the comment section. Say good evening. Hi, how's you doing? We have our achievers in. We are in panel this afternoon. Of course, my name is Alina Lewis, and I'm here representing Launchpad Consultancy as we collaborate with VisionWorks Solutions to bring you Book Club Conversation Series 3. And in this series, entrepreneurs and professionals are reading the book, The Uncommon Achiever, written by Mike Murdock. My name, again, Alina Lewis. I'm an author, business coach, and education consultant. And joining me in studio right now is none other than Chanel Richards. Hi, Chanel. Good evening.
Hi, good night.
So I'm really excited to be back as we discuss chapter 5, because, the book has been going so well. And tonight we're talking about the chapter as it's entitled, Constantly Consult the Counsel of Others in Your Decision Making. So Chanel, I always start off by asking the question, what stood out to you the most? So tell me, what was that thing or those things that really stood out to you as you read through chapter 5?
He said to consult. And I found that very strange because I am a strong-minded person and I believe that it was a sign of weakness to ask for help.
Interesting.
So when it says he's saying to consult, I was like, this is something to tell me it's okay not to ask for help. So I'm going to read on. And I'm amazed that it keep on going to ask for help. Like,
yeah. That's interesting. You know what stood out to me, Chanel, as I was reading through, in the chapter, he said, stay in touch with you. He was talking about a billionaire, by the way, who was trained by his dad. And, they're talking through things. And he said, the billionaire's recommendation was stay in touch with your supervisor, your boss, anyone who supervises you, mentors you, or guides you into something you want to accomplish. He said, stay in touch regularly. And what I liked about it is that when we think about the whole idea of consult and staying in touch, I really pulled from it that reminder that staying in touch is not about begging for help. So that way I could understand where you're coming from when you talk about the weakness. When you say, is it a sign of weakness to always be going to people for help? But really, when we look at it, that ability to stay in touch, really what it does is strengthens us. And it's not even, what I like again, it's not even about staying in touch with any one person, but it's just about staying in touch with that group of people or those sets of people that support you in your journey. And so even as I was thinking that, it brought me to the question to ask this. What are the categories of people for you that you consult with, or the categories of people who make up your team or your support system? And I really want to ask you that, because as I was thinking about it, I thought about 5 categories of people. And I started jotting to myself, because I'm like, okay, Alina, what is it that you need? Who do you connect with? Who's your team? Who are these people that make up your ecosystem? And, first and foremost, I was thinking, I thought about the role of the strategist, because, I would have something to do. I want to embark on a new project. And I want somebody who is able to think in the way that I do and think ahead of me sometimes. That person who looks at the long term and how it's going to fit in the big picture. So for me, I was thinking about the strategist. I was also thinking about the charismatic person. The person who is able to have that personality and be able to bring out the best and connect with people on my behalf sometimes when I'm not able to reach out to. And definitely the charismatic person falls part in the range of what I do. And another one I was thinking about is, and of course, I'm saying this thinking to myself, depending on what you're doing, everyone would define who they need in a different way. So, of course, I'm very aware that the categories I would create is really specifically because of how I function and my role and how I impact people. But that operational person, somebody who is able to just understand what the vision is and make it happen and be able to be almost an expert in that ability to operationalize a thing. And that's somebody I want to stay in touch with as well. But even before I get to you, Chanel, I really want to remind people who are viewing live, I always say to you, jump into the conversation in the comment section. And even as you reflect on the whole theme that Mike Murdock is sharing that says you ought to constantly consult the counsel of others in your decision making, I want you go ahead and share in the comment section what are those categories of people that you consult with. But Chanel, when you looked at that, is that something you thought of? And if yes, who are those people that you, whether it's a category, a type, a role, whatever it is, who are the people that you consult with in your decision making that strengthen you and empower you?
Well, for me, my own is a very tight network, and it's very few that I will go to because I want to keep it safe. I don't want to ever reach in a zone where I have an issue or a problem with somebody telling me something that I don't really want to hear, or not I don't want to hear, but I don't want to. I wouldn't value the opinion because I don't think that they can help me in that way. So I keep my network very tight. So consulting, I have certain family members, or I go to educators, I go to place of employment where I work, those kind of networks that I know that for sure they could bring out the best in me in that moment. And they're not afraid to tell me what I have to learn, but in a way that will not impact me in a negative way.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that when you mentioned the whole idea of people saying things that would build you and not impact you in a negative way. And I really believe that a large part of that has to do with the relationships and our ability to nurture relationships with people. So one of the things, for example, that stands out to me, even as I think about nurturing relationships, and we spoke about it earlier in the conversation where we were saying it's really important to make sure we are checking in to the same extent we want to be checked on. So even as we were going through and we're looking at what the book is sharing with us, one of the things that Mike Murdock says is that it's important that we learn how to reach, because the proof of humility really is in the willingness to reach. And of course, we know Mike Murdock, he tends to write from a Christian perspective. So he used the scripture that says, where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in a multitude of counselors, there is safety. So I wanted to ask you, Chanel, when you consider the relationships you have with these people, how do you nurture the relationships so that they're strong and you are able to give in the same way you're able to receive?
For me, I make sure that I am that person there for them the way that they are for me. So I be their support system. So in times of need, in times when they need somebody to just listen, because I have like a particular friend, I say, okay, you want to vent, or you want to speak, or you just want somebody to listen to, I am here for you. And I just be that person, just in that position, and I have no comments to make. I'm just going to allow you to voice your opinion. Because sometimes silence is the best advice.
I think for me too, because I totally connect with that. And even for me, I try to be mindful not to always want to be in the receiving end. But I try as often as I can to be intentional about giving. And when I say giving, I'm not necessarily just meaning giving tangible things, but being there for people. I have a running joke with certain people. Like I have certain parts of my team, people who support me, and everybody have a day. So I have certain people every Sunday. I call them. I ain't call for nothing. I just call. I just call to check up on you. How are you going? What's going on with you? And yes, it is an organic conversation, but it's not that every time I pick up the phone I want something, but I'm really calling or I'm messaging or whatever it is, because I mean we're still within COVID, we're still within restrictions, we're not able to meet like we used to, but I'm very mindful and very intentional about saying, here's what I want to be able to build the relationship. So I have certain people I call on a Sunday and I have that in my mind, I have to give that phone call. Or there's a colleague of mine, she's an early bird. So you find Saturday morning, 5:36. Hi, how are you going? And we have a whole hour long conversation, 5:30 Saturday morning, because we're up, we're sharing our thoughts, we're sharing our heart's desires, we're encouraging each other. And for me, that is my role that at least I find very effective in being able to build relationships and maintain relationships. But just Chanel, even as you maybe think about the chapter, is there anything else that you would have read that stood out to you that really sort of resonated and say, you know what, I want to remember this, or I want to do this, or not do this? What else would have stood out to you in the chapter?
Well, for me, it was going back to a previous chapter because it reminded me of when he said about the atmosphere. And it connected because then I was saying, you choose your environment, you choose the type of people that you will want around you. And I mean type, that word is a very strong word. I'd want it to be, offensive, but to choose who you want, people to build you, people to encourage you, people to think and make sure that you are that same thing. So choosing an environment because it helps maintain that peace of mind within you as well, to know that you have, because we will all have good days, we all have bad days. So that keeping that environment, that atmosphere, that peaceful, that joy. So you could call a friend when you're just looking for a joke. Or you're looking for the things, so you just you have your haha moments. And it's like, okay, because I am really, really upset today and I just need somebody to just make me laugh. So you just go to them for that moment. You're not talking anything serious, you're just listening to them, making a comment and relaxing your mind. And you always need that fallback. So that atmosphere, that what's it resonates in me during reading that chapter.
Yeah, and even as you say that, it reminded me of a conversation I had with a colleague some time ago where we were talking about the idea of the voice and meaning as a representation of our contribution. And I think far often, Chanel, a lot of times it's easy to just see yourself as the receiver. That, okay, I am building and I'm trying to get myself and get my project going or launch a new thing, whatever the endeavor is. And we see ourselves, and a lot of people, it happens, we see ourselves as, I need support, I need the coach, But one of the things I want to encourage people who would be listening is to remember that there is value in your journey. And it doesn't matter how close to or how far from you consider yourself when comparing to the goals that you have. The successes as well as the challenges and the misses and the adjustments that you had to make, all of it works together to teach us something, And, it reminds me of before I got into business. And I would have these different jobs. And I remember I sat one day thinking, I'm like, do I know what I'm doing? Because 1 minute I'm working in the HR and I'm running an HR department. The next minute I'm in a different company running an administrative department. The next minute I'm organizing for an NGO and running their programs. And at a point I was like, oh my God, Alina, what are you doing? You're all over the place. And at that time, I felt so discouraged because I'm like, gosh, do you not have direction for your life? Everybody seems to have it together. And every couple of years, you are in a completely different sort of position. And you know what? It wasn't until I launched my first business that it just made sense. Because all of the areas that I worked, I needed all those skills. I needed that range of experience to pull together now and be the business owner and launch and operate and grow it. I needed that. And so if I had not gone through what at the time was looking like confusion, but I just I didn't follow my heart. I didn't follow my passion. Because every time I walked away or I transitioned into a new position, it wasn't because I was bored. It wasn't because I was just thinking about the money. It was because there was something on the inside I was saying, this is not it. And I got into the thing and it felt good for a while. And of course, I'm not just talking emotions, but in my connection with the role that I had, it felt good. And then this is not it. And you know what? When I launched my first business and it came together, I was like, wow. I was so appreciative to God that I did follow my instinct, because while there was a moment that I was wondering, is my instinct leading me wrong? After time, when the season was right, I discovered, no, my instinct led me right. I needed to be in these places, meet these people, have these experiences to be able to now come together and execute at the new level or in a new thing. Have you ever had an experience like that, Chanel, where you're looking at your life and the things you're going through and you're like, what on earth?
Most definitely, because I could say it's the same thing with me. I'm doing all these different things, but then I jumped into mommyhood, I should say, and I realized that was my own business. Huh? It was like my launch of a new business, and the things that I could have carried with me, and the things I've learned, and understanding different points of views, and understanding where it, what it brings out in you, to deal with situations that will come your way. And as I always say, God knows why He's put you in different positions, why He's placed you where you need to be, because everything I've been through, I had a great takeaway from it. Yeah. And I could always say, even though they may have some negatives that went along with it and some bitter moments, but I truly learned. Yeah. And I thank God for those moments as well. So I reflect back and say, I am glad that I saw that. I'm glad that I experienced that, because today, when somebody comes with that same kind of personality or the same kind of way, I don't have to lose my essence of a person. I don't have to break down myself, but I can now challenge myself to say, I understand I know you're in the feeling right now. That's okay. And maintain this calm, that I don't be stressed about it anymore, and I'm fine. So I am happy for those experiences. I'm happy to know that I've grown because of those experiences. And that was something that, being in those positions helped me. So, and I like the idea of knowing that I have to find my way still. I like the idea of not knowing what is next to come.
Right.
It's a mystery, because, I wonder what God have in store for me today.
Yeah.
That mystery, that moment. And somebody could have come out of nowhere to tell you, well, I think that you will make it fine in this position. Why don't you try this with me?
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And it challenged me to do something new, come out my shell and do something new, and don't be, it wouldn't be a forceful thing, but I'm doing it with authenticity, authentically.
Yes,
with problems, and people will see genuine me. It wouldn't see somebody who had the opportunity to put together something and place something on a piece of paper before they say what I'll say and make it sound like we're straight out of the textbook. It's just you.
And you do represent that. You bring that realness and that practical view of how to navigate. And I always admire that with you and how you navigate through life circumstances and so on. So that really is great. And, even as we continue on looking at what Mike Murdock had to say, he mentioned that we ought to know the power of connection. And one short sentence he put there: create contact. because somebody is a link to your future success. And when he said create contact, that as well, I took a moment, and I just looked at it and I paused because, I was going through my chapter really early, like maybe about 5:30 this morning, because the sun rising early. So I'm out in the porch, I'm doing my reading. And, it really reminded me of the importance of taking the initiative, and earlier in the chapters before, when we had Simone and Roll and the others on, one of the recurring themes we keep having come up and come to the surface is the importance of being decisive, the importance of being intentional. And here it is, Mike Murdock is reminding us through his writing, it's important to create the contact, because how often do we need support? We need to connect, and we sit and we wait and fantasize for the day when someone would magically find our phone number, magically know what we need, and say, let me help you. And sometimes it might magically happen that way, but it usually does not. We have to be intentional about creating contact, which means we have to be very aware of what the vision is. We have to be aware of what we need to bring the vision to life, and therefore be able to determine who are the people we need to meet with. And, I'll give you a quick story. Again, just going back to that transition when I started my first business, I didn't need money. I didn't need a loan. I didn't need any of that. I had in me, I was confident. I had in me what I needed to launch this business. And I started the business and I was starting to get clients. And it was so exciting. I could make money on my own, because I had the time made a decision. I am not going back to work for anybody. I'm gonna do this. So it wasn't, and I'm happy for people who are able to have their full-time jobs and wean themselves off and transition into entrepreneurship. But that was not my journey. I had left my job and I said, I'm not going for another job, and this is what it's gonna be. And in that process, while yes, I was getting the clients, I had my notes and I knew what I wanted, I realized I needed guidance. I needed a coach or a mentor. Why? Because I was understanding that while I had all of the skills and the understandings to operationalize what I wanted to do, I didn't at that time have the strategic foresight to understand how to pull it all together and make that bang. And actually, that is how Roll and I met. Because when I went to seek a business coach, Roll was the person I ended up connecting with, and we've stayed connected since then. But it's so important to know what you need and be able to seek it out, because guess what? If I just sat and said, I start a business and I'm trying to see what I could do and I hope it work out, that's certainly not a recipe for success. So, I am encouraged by that reminder, and I really want to encourage those who are following on. You should probably highlight that part of the book, because we have to be the ones to take the initiative to create the contact, to reach out to people, to have the confidence in knowing I don't have to feel bad to reach out. It doesn't mean I'm less of a person because I want to reach out. No, it's because my dream is great and I understand that my success is linked to somebody else. That is my motivation to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm doing book up conversations. Do you want to be a part of it? Because when we're able to connect and share and grow together, we all are able to share in that success, in really being that achiever. So Chanel, even as we consider chapter 5, I want to ask you, what closing thoughts do you have that you want to leave with people who are viewing, that this is a great takeaway as we prepare for chapter 6?
For me, it will be, it's okay. It's okay to build that network. It's okay to reach out for that consultation. It's okay to stay connected. It better be loved ones or make new connections. Be open to it, because through it, I will safely say, through new connections, I have grown massive friendships. And they are my safe network today.
Yeah.
It's actually the people that I will consult with versus friends I might have for millions of years. they have, they were there for a season and a reason and a purpose at that point in time. But they come into, there are some people that come into your life randomly. You have never met them. You have just connected through vibes and a good conversation one day. And
Yeah,
so be okay to just have that connection. Be okay to be yourself. Be okay to be open up to hear somebody else's point of view, because that's how you can continue to learn and grow. You may not take all of their advice, but if something might stay with you to help you to be better at what you do.
definitely. And even before I share my closing thoughts, I just want to bring to the forefront we have Leah that shared with us that the range of experience. She was giving a thumbs up that we need that range of experience. And then we have Paula who shared as well. She said, like you, Alina, this stood out to me. Create contact. This can sometimes be difficult and takes a whole lot of humility. It can be intimidating at times, but had I not decided to reach out to my coach, I was then able to be clearer about my way forward, and reaching out was worth it. And it's true, having that coach is so important. I remember I spent, I think, about a year of business coaching with Roll. And out of that year of business coaching, the information that I got took me through my first 5 years of business. And I kept those notebooks for years. Listen, if I go in the archives, I probably still have my notebooks from those days, because it was such an enriching experience. And, I want to quote Roll. He said it, I think, 2 days ago, but it's something he said to me, and it stayed with me since then. And when he mentioned it, I remembered it. He spoke about the whole idea of the oak tree. And he said, if you are that oak tree, but your roots are stuck in a bucket, you're going to struggle to grow, because there's no space for your roots to push out so that you could become that enormous, strong tree that you're meant to be, metaphorically, of course. And, I just want to encourage people, even as I reflect on that analogy that I heard from him all those years ago, don't be afraid to reach out, because part of reaching out and letting your roots expand to form that foundation is understanding that connections are important. And whether it's a business coach, a confidant who is experienced and has the understanding needed to help guide you, it doesn't matter who the person is, that there is no shame in reaching out, there's no shame in connecting, but we are stronger together than we are when we are by ourselves. So I really want to encourage people, reach out, make connections, be intentional about making connections though that are in alignment with your vision, so that way as you move forward, you move from where you are in your current position in this season to taking the next step to achieving whatever is that goal that you have. So Chanel, thank you so much for joining me online for this live stream as we talked about a short, sweet, but potent chapter where we look at the importance of connections. And of course, thanks for those who keep tuning in when we go live. Guys, continue to stay motivated and encouraged, continue to write the vision, make it plain. And I know that our broadcasts usually run for lengthy periods, but I want to remind you that whether you go to my page, Alina Lewis Success Coach, or you're connected with the Vision Work social media, we always post what we call wisdom nuggets, where we take those little snippets, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and we put it out there so you could rewatch and you could just be inspired and be encouraged by the conversation. So guys, ladies, gentlemen, achievers, have a great night, and we're definitely going to see you and connect with you tomorrow as we continue on with book club conversations.